Yeah, welcome to the Get Down. I got with me the homie, and he's white. Are you considered white, Chuck?
I'm a white Jew, yeah.
You're a white Jew. Now,
That's,
you know, like before we get started, I have some people. Every time I use the term white boy, they think I'm using it like a derogatory sense towards the
how far off are you from opening that place?
um. Well, I'm gonna go paint it tomorrow with my brothers and sisters, and we had deposit 20 grand
Damn.
into the account. Like we came up with 20 grand, and my partner came up with 20 grand, and then
Was that for the lease or for what?
well, that's for the lease and the expenses. Like, cause my living room right now is full of freaking chairs, right? Like, I don't
Uh,
got no room space in my house right now. Like, you can look at it over here. This is all my gear back here.
yeah.
So it's just like, yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on, man. It's a lot of stuff
Hey,
going on.
see it, man. I'm proud of you. You're doing good in a lot of different areas.
Yeah, I'm
That's
trying.
good.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't, I'm just freestyling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just I got the
Well, it's a good concept too. Not just a tattoo parlor, but what you guys are doing as far as bringing guys out of the joint that need a place to work.
yeah,
That's
not
good.
yeah, cause
Hey,
uh, yeah,
are you I've told you this before, and it would apply to you guys. If you guys get people that are within 1 year of being released, there's a earned income tax credit that you can use.
yeah. We're looking at. We got somebody that's looking into that. We got somebody looking into trying to get his grant because it's minority owned, because it's
Yep,
women's owned.
yep,
I'm not on anywhere on the paperwork, but my wife is. She's a woman, and then our partner, she's a Mexican lady. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
but
The
the dude,
benefits in there.
yeah, the dude we were going through, I think his wife's mom had passed away or something. So, they're dealing with that right now. But yeah, we're looking into all that. I tell people, my wife, she's always like, she has something against like getting government aid and government funding. I'm like, babe, I'd rather fill out some form and get some government aid than have to run
Yep.
into a bank and make a
Yeah.
withdrawal. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So
No, hey, brother, and that's the nature of business, man. They all take advantage of tax breaks and whatever fucking, you know what I mean? That's the way the world turns business. So,
yeah,
yeah,
yes.
it's not. No.
But there's always like they make it a stigma for us down here to receive like try to get like government assistance and but
Right.
the corporations, the elite, the corporations, that's all they use. They fund all their programs, all their corporations off of taxpayer money.
Yep.
But
Yep.
but they make it a stigma for us to go to the government and try to get some aid and assistance. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, they want to save all that funding for themselves.
Right.
They don't.
Exactly.
Yeah, they don't want us accessing that shit. So we don't know, and they make accessing those resources so secretive. Like they bury under layers of shit. Like,
Right.
okay, when I came home and I was looking to open up this business, I'm looking at the SBA loans for felons, right?
Right. Yeah.
Everybody tells me, oh, if you're a felon, you can go and get about $55,000 grant or loan and all that. I'm gonna tell
Yeah.
you right now, if you're a felon, that shit is bullshit. Because I
Yeah.
looked at it
They
and I read the
think,
fine print. They're saying you have to have been out this many years. You have to have a business for at least 18 to 22 months, generating over $10,000 a month to qualify for this certain amount of loan. Well, if I've already been out running a business for 2 years, generating $10,000 a fucking month, then what the fuck I need you for?
right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? I thought
Well,
it's supposed to be
that,
set up to
that's a
help. Yeah, go
that,
ahead.
that's a big misconception amongst convicts that there's all these things designed specifically for us. It's not for us, but
No.
we do fall into a category of people that they will help, like ex-military, ex-convicts, women, like you're talking about, women, minorities. Those are all things they're not going to give us a loan just because we're an ex-con,
No.
but we do get an upper hand in getting approved.
Yeah, but I mean, like I can't even I can't even fill out the form because I don't have a business that's been operating for at least 18 to 24 months. I don't have no revenues that generates $10,000 a month.
What
So
kind of you looking for though? Not a startup.
yeah, I'm looking for. I went through a list of all sorts of stuff. Like we went on the website,
Yeah.
SBA loans for felons. We typed it in, SBA loan for felons. So we
Right.
looked it up, and they gave you a list of different things, for housing, for whatever. And but then when you go read the fine print, there's these stipulations that you have to, qualify for. It's not
Yeah.
helping nobody fresh out of prison to
No.
try to get a leg up, to try to get,
No.
you can't, like I said, I don't qualify to even apply for the SBA loan.
But you do, but not for what you're looking at.
So am I
All
looking at the wrong place?
stuff because if you just want to start a fresh business, like you ain't got nothing going on, I know you have to go to 3 traditional lenders like Bank of America or whatever and be denied. But then you submit your business plan, your budget, all your bullshit, and you apply for just a general startup loan, and they'll consider it. You don't have to, have an
Yeah.
established business
I mean, I've been
already.
denied. I've been denied every bank I went to. I went to Chase Bank. I went to Mountain America Bank. Chase Bank. They wanted to give me. We were looking for a business uh, credit, right? Credit line where they just open you a line of credit, and then we
Right.
were looking for a business loan. Well, the business loan, they tell you, okay, we can loan you up to $50,000 a year. I mean, $50,000, but it would be 8.4% for the loan, and then 7.4% for the bank. So at the end of the day, it's 16% interest on the $50,000 loan we were trying to
Yeah.
get. And we're like, damn, we're getting robbed. Like, what the fuck?
You
Right?
can go up to Louis and Guido and get a better deal.
Who? Yeah. And that's where I went to Louis and Greedo. You know what I mean? To get my money to open up my shop because these fucking banks, they're robbing you and they're robbing you blind. And the thing
Yeah.
that pisses me off is that they're able to do business because of the money that we deposit into their bank.
Right.
You know what I mean? They use our deposit to turn around. Like if I deposit $100 into the bank, they can use that, that ledger that says there's $100 in their deposit, the security deposit or whatever. They could turn
Right.
around and loan you $10,000 off that fucking $100 fucking deposit, which
Right.
at the end of the day is really fake money that the banks are loaning to us, right? Because
Oh,
because they have relationships with these different like if you go to a car dealership, they know the bank has money. The bank don't really give the car dealer money. The bank just says, "Hey man, go ahead. We just gave him a $10,000 loan. I promise to pay you. So we're gonna hold the security and take responsibility for it." But at the end of the day, they're making the money off the interest that we're paying on that $10,000 loan. And they're splitting our interest. It's just frustrating, man. Especially when you read the headlines that says, "Hey, here's a program that's set up to help you," and then when you go to try to get that resource, they're just like, well, yeah, we're here to help you, but you have to you have to be all this first. You have to already be successful out of prison, how many years already, and all the
Right.
rest of it. You know what I mean? So, like,
hey, did you get denial letters from those banks that you applied to?
no, we went into the bank to talk to the manager or to the whoever was in charge of that department,
Yeah.
and when we were having a conversation with them, I'm just looking at them like, yeah, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, yeah, we're out of here, and we're in the process of taking all of our money, we have like 5 different accounts in a Chase Bank. My wife
Yeah.
has, I opened up one. My wife has, she's been banking with Chase for however many years, she's been banking, and we're just like, at the end of the day, is like, if the bankers aren't trying to help you, because especially my wife's already had a tattoo shop for like
Forever.
since 2019, right? So 4 or 5 years already. Been doing business with them, been paying whatever, everything, meeting all her responsibilities. And when she went into them to try like, hey, which one we want to open up another business, they were just like, really kind of giving us like an attitude like you're not a big enough client for us to even engage in this conversation with you. And if you do
Wow.
want a loan, this is where the interest rate is, you know, and
Oh.
so it was just frustrating. So for us, it's just like, you know, fuck you. We're gonna come back. We're in the process of going
Hey,
back,
hey,
and
hey, you're thinking you're lucky I don't take all your fucking money off.
well, you said it, not me.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm like, what kind of bullshit is this, man? Like, we've been a loyal, whatever customer. We've been banking
yeah.
with you, been fucking helping you get rich. Just me and the rest of the world, everybody else, all the citizens that have been banking with them, but they don't give a fuck, dog. They don't give a fuck. You
Well,
know what I mean? But
this pest control work I'm doing, man. I service a few banks actually, but I've been in there, bro, when they're like loading the ATM or something.
yeah.
They got grips of stacks, man. I'm just like, really? You guys just let me in around all this shit? What's the old saying? Better read the record. No, I'm done with all that, but it's just a trip being around it.
Yeah, it's like an addict being around some dope.
Yeah, work.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So that being said, so you went to prison for bank robbery.
yeah, few times. I think 3 times I went down that road.
Yeah. Um. What
Total 9 banks, I think.
you robbed 9 banks, and
Yeah.
but you did it all with notes, right?
With the exception of one in Orem City.
Yeah. Okay. Is that the one where your buddy just got out of jail or out of
Yeah.
prison in Arizona, and you were supposed to go take him home, and on your guys' way home. Well, why don't you tell my viewers that story?
Well, it's kind of a long story, but we opened up FCI Phoenix in '85, and they brought short timers out of all the pins. Back then, there was only 5 pins. Just Lewisburg, Leavenworth, Lompoc, Marion, and whatever, a couple, like one or two other ones. And so they brought short timers out of there to open up Phoenix. And so I palled up with this dude out of Portland, Oregon, um, Evan McCown. He's been dead for 20 years now, I think. And anyway, we're both short, and everything's good. We're on a positive thing, working out. We back then they still had the kosher kitchens. We had that sewn up. We're eating good, working out, talking about jobs and housing and all that stuff you talk about. And so I go see the case manager one day, and she tells me because I caught my case, I was in San Quentin when I caught my tax case. It was just a tax fraud case.
Yeah.
But because I was convicted in San Francisco, that I had to release to San Francisco instead of my hometown, Sacramento, where I had housing, a car, family, everything was set up and waiting for me. And I was young. I was only like 22, 23. So I caught an attitude, I'm like, oh yeah, fuck you guys. I'm not going to San Francisco. But I told the case manager, I said, yeah, give me a bus ticket for that. So homie gets out exactly 2 weeks after I do to his halfway house in Portland. So we both had our itineraries that they provide you, get the taxi at this time, you catch the airplane at this time, blah, blah, blah. And so we knew he would have a 3-hour layover in Salt Lake City during his trip to Portland. So that was the thing, man. I would meet him during his layover, pick him up, we'll go do the bank, and then put him back on the airplane. I was already on the run. You know what I mean? I absconded right out the gate.
You just got out and you didn't even.
The bank like the next day or something.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
my first little note robbery in Sacramento. I did make it to Sacramento, but anyway, it went all bad, man. We came up out of that bank. We hit like 37 grand. We hit the day bank behind the counter.
Yeah.
Bro, I didn't have a big enough bag. I got a book bag, and homie filled it, and he said he left all kinds of cash in there.
Yeah.
And so we're coming out of there, and this kid popped out of the back of a Sizzler's restaurant right next door and saw us coming out. We looked like a couple bank robbers. Got stockings on over our face, ball caps, sunglasses, coveralls. He's holding a big old bag. I'm trying to put this big old 45 automatic in the little slot in the coveralls.
Yeah.
And so I'm struggling with that, trying to rip these glasses off. So anyway, he sees us, and because of the time constraint, we were going to steal a car, but because of the time constraint, I didn't know I was in Orem. I thought I was in Salt Lake. I didn't know anything about Utah.
Yeah.
And so the travel time to the airport from Orem, there and back ate up, most of that 3 hours anyway. So we didn't really have time to go steal a car. So I've got a rental car directly connected to my wife, who doesn't know I'm out doing dirt or on escape or anything.
Yeah.
So anyway, one thing led to another, man. We got in a high-speed chase. I will say this about Orem, bro. They come out of the woodwork. If you think that's some sleepy little town or whatever, when they come, man, the meter maids come, the FBI, everybody comes. So, yeah, they gave us like 30 years apiece and sent us on our way.
Now, what year was that?
85.
85. So you got out of prison 2 weeks prior to your homeboy. When he gets out, on the day that he gets out, you meet him out here in Utah, and before his layover, before he catches his plane up to Portland, you guys go and try to hit a bank, and then gets in a high-speed chase, gets caught up, so he never even made it home and already got another indictment, right?
He had to call people. His people flew in from Chicago to meet him at the airport in Portland, welcome home, bro. He had just 5 flat on 20, I think he had, under old law for a bank robbery.
Yeah.
He's got home from jail. I felt worse for him than I did myself. Because it's like he had to call him and tell him, man, I ain't going to be there. So it was bad.
So he robbed a bank on his way home out of prison.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we did. So yeah, I did what I do on that. I did 15 calendars on that one. And towards the end of that is when I met you at FCI Florence.
Yeah, back in 96, 97? 97, yeah. And then we ran into each other again in 98 or 99 when we was in the ADC.
Yeah.
I'm in there for a bank robbery because I guess I was listening to stories about you guys robbing banks when I was in the feds. So I come home and try my hand at a bank robbery. But I didn't get caught. I didn't get on a high-speed chase. I got caught because Buster told on me, right? And then what did you do? You went and how did you end up back in the county jail with me?
Robbing more banks. I met you may know her or may not know her, Christy, they call her Queenie. Anyway, she's little, I think she was like 19 years old. She popped out of the taxi at the halfway house at Cornell.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get with her like automatic, man. And but she immediately got knee deep into that meth shit, bro. And when she got out and I was out, I remember I had her phone number, so I called her. She's like, "Hey, you want to party?" So I'm thinking, a couple beers and we're gonna hit the sack because that was our whole goal in the first place.
Yeah.
Trying to get, and no, she's talking about like shooting some meth and shit, man. And all it took was a little bit of that, and I was off and running because you can't go to work. I'm giving dirties to the PO for meth. And I know I can't go to work because the marshal's going to show up. So, and I ain't going to, starve to death or whatever. So I figured, well, just go on a bank spree. And went and robbed, I think 6 that time.
6 banks?
Yeah, between here and Florida.
Oh, you were traveling around the country robbing banks at that time?
Mostly in Utah, but I hit one out. I went out to Florida for a minute to give a homie that I've known for a long time in the joint. I bought a car in Utah and then drove it out there and just gave that to him. Met his family, his wife, his kids and shit, filled his fridge up and just, I only stayed there a couple of days.
Yeah.
But I robbed the bank right before I left and then shot back out to Utah.
Well, how they get onto you that you was the one robbing all these banks?
We were at a hotel in West Valley. What's that cop, Bill McCarthy? You remember him?
Yeah, yeah, I know the name.
Dirty, dirty motherfucker, man. But
Yeah,
anyway, um, what I didn't know is that like certain businesses, like rental car people, self-storage people, hotel clerks, they go to these seminars with law enforcement, with detectives, man, and they teach them certain things to look for, like in-state ID. Well, if you live in state, why are you getting a hotel right here? You know, just different little things, you know.
yeah,
And so paying cash. That was another thing. I paid cash for a week. This is a brand new hotel. Um, Paid cash, had in-state ID, something else. I forgot. Oh, rental cars in the parking lot. So she calls the police. So, uh, yeah, they come up to the room. I think the dude's a little like maintenance guy, man. He got a little t-shirt with a regular button up that's open. He got a little ponytail. He looked like a maintenance guy.
yeah.
So I just barely cracked the door, man. This dude stiff arms the door. I'm Bill McCarthy, blah blah blah, all this, and before I could like process, all right, this is a cop. Another big fucking dude jumped from behind the wall in back of him. So now I'm really, and homeboy's in the shower. He ended up being a rat. He's no good dude. Robert Lambert. Uh,
I
but
think
anyway,
I
I
know
could,
that name, Robert Lambert.
yeah, I'm sure you've run into him. He got
Yeah,
a kid. He got a kid. You remember? It, not Spasm. I don't know what the fuck his name was. He had a tick where he'd like blink his eyes and shit. And got him 30 years on an automatic weapon after you know, told on me basically. So anyway, we get hemmed up at the dude opens the door, like stiff opens the door enough to where he can see behind me. And I had just the corner of a bag of weed where he could see it.
yeah.
And so when I told him, hey, no, wait, stop, you got a warrant? He goes, marijuana, plain view. And fucking there it was. So I had a bunch of cash in my travel bag. This dude's thinking that he went down and saw the cars, and he's thinking we're dope dealers for some reason.
Yeah.
So he thinks he's got a dope case, and then they find that money. So later on, they arrest us. I had like just dust in a little baggie of meth. So I had a no bail meth and that little bit of weed shit, and Robert just had weed. So they cut him loose. Um, I've got a the meth thing, no bail, and anyway, so they're inventorying the cash, and a robbery detective starts helping them, and he asks McCarthy. He says, "Hey, what is this case? Where'd this money come from?" Oh, a couple drug dealers, blah 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 blah. He's running it down. The guy goes, "We just had a bank robbery, whatever it was, like 2 days previous, because the money was still banded." You know what I mean? And so they just put two and two together, and oh, and plus, dude got tricked. They took $2,000 off him and held it. So when they released him, they got a hold of his PO, or his PO got a hold of the cops, and they set up this plan, tell him to come get his money, and when they do, they arrested him. And then when they arrested him, that's when he told them, "Oh yeah, Chuck went to Florida for 3 days, blah blah blah. He robbed a bank while he was out there. Uh, he was never charged with nothing, man. They didn't,
Yeah.
Uh, anyway, so and you know how it goes. Once they put the pieces together, it's pretty much over.
Yeah.
But that's how you and I ended up back in ADC. Well, in ADC. Didn't you open up ADC with us?
Yeah, I opened it up. They closed down Old Metro at like
Yeah.
the end of '99 and
And we all went.
started busing us all over there to ADC, and that's when all
Yeah.
that chaos was going on because they didn't know how to handle all the shit that
No,
was going on with us.
that bro up there, Paul
Yeah,
Alma, you, me. There's a whole crew of them,
yeah,
huh?
Yeah, every time they opened the door, somebody was getting life flighted.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's none of that, bro. None of that.
yeah,
Uh, so anyway, I think I did 6 or 7 on that one. That's when I met Deirdre,
yeah,
my long attorney girl,
yeah,
uh, who you've met and become close to.
yeah.
Um, and got out from that in what, '05?
Yeah, we were in Victorville. We were Selly in Victorville.
Yeah,
That's when you hooked me up with that Alpha Institute. That's how I got hooked up with my wife. And
Aleph, yeah.
then I
Aleph
got back out, but I think you left from there. All right.
Yeah, it's like high drama how I got out, but I got out on a writ, and
Yeah.
Deirdre picked me up at the back gate, and we were off and running. And then I don't know why I started robbing banks again after that.
Yeah, I know. I
But
called home like 6 months later. I think Deirdre, she was on the Orient. She was on vacation in the Orient,
yeah,
going through Japan and China and all. And she was like, "You know what the fuck this guy did?" I was like, "What? He went and fucking robbed another bank." I was like,
yeah,
"What?" And he went and robbed the same bank that he went into that he just robbed before. I'm like,
yeah.
for me, it's like, you're one of the most intelligent dude I ever met. Like, I'm pretty
Thank you.
sure that you consider yourself, or I can consider you, and a lot of people that's dealt with you, um, an expert in the law. Like, you've taken a lot of cases
Yeah,
to the Supreme Court. Like, tell us about that. Like, what's your background with the
I,
law and
I
all that stuff?
I grew up in the system from juvenile hall on through the California Youth Authority, which I heard they just shut all that down. It's interesting.
Yeah,
Uh, but like in the Sacramento County Juvenile Hall, I wrote like the first grievance. They just started the program, and I like wrote one of the first grievances there, and I got complimented on that. And so I took that to San Quentin, and they had an organization there that would help represent guys at disciplinary hearings and whatever their cases. So I guess I just started early with the legal stuff. A lot of like administrative grievances and civil rights lawsuits and this and that. So in that vein, I knew the rules, I knew the civil rules, I knew how to write. So that's where I got my leg in the door on it. And then in what, 98, 99, I met Deirdre, who's a major crimes criminal defense trial lawyer. And we were locked down in that super
yeah,
max.
superbacks. Yeah,
Yeah. And she's like, Chuck, you want to do some writing for me? Some research and writing. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing much anything else. So we started on our journey, man, doing briefs for her.
yeah,
She still calls me um, for different little questions she's got about the system or, you know.
yeah,
But yeah, we've done death penalty cases. She's got one guy in Arizona now. We did a brief for him, and I think out of 50 claims that we presented, they've granted hearings on 30 something of those claims. And Deirdre says that is unheard of,
yeah.
you know. So I felt good about that. There's guys that are much better than I am, but I've been doing it a long time. And yeah,
Well, how many
uh,
cases have you taken to the Supreme Court, and how many cases have you won?
well, on the trial court level, the district court, we've had a few successes. Like we won a suppression motion where dudes were bringing like several pounds of meth and several pounds of coke from Ontario, California into Salt Lake. And because this cop didn't get a judge's signature on the warrant, it threw the whole freaking case out. So we had that one, which I mean, if he'd had to eat that and go to prison, he would have got a lot of time for all them pounds of meth.
Yeah.
So we got that one. You remember ATM? They called him ATM. Can't remember his real name now. they were taking the tow trucks and wrapping cables around ATM machines.
Yeah, out here in Utah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we won his case on appeal. I did that brief. I forgot what the details were, but we won his case. I don't know that wins are far and few between in the criminal system because it's a stacked deck, bro.
Yeah.
Especially guys plead guilty. Once you plead guilty, it's pretty impossible because that's why they ask you all those questions. Do you understand you're giving up this right? Do you understand? Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty? Are you happy with your lawyer? And we're sitting there not really thinking of what we're saying. We're just going through it. And so when we go back to file on something, they pull all that shit back up, those transcripts, and read back to you, hey, you pled guilty because you are guilty.
Yeah. Okay.
You were happy with your lawyer.
Like,
so
I know a lot of people out here like that view these my channel and stuff. They might not be familiar with some of the laws and stuff. So let's go. If I'm in a passenger seat, right, and we're going down the road, and the driver gets pulled over, the car gets pulled over. Right. I'm in the driver's seat, and I'm sure, just hypothetically, the car is dirty. Now, as far as me being in the driver's seat, can I leave that vehicle and walk? Like
that goes. It's called a Terry stop.
Okay.
And those kind of detentions are different from, say, if they come to your door or stop you on the street or something. And the only reason it's different is because they say a car is mobile.
Okay.
And so you're able to leave easier than under other circumstances. But in any event, to answer your question, if there's articulable suspicion that a crime has been committed, and they say, let's say the driver committed it, he has to at least show ID and he could be detained and all that stuff. Now, they can detain everybody in the car until they've determined that everyone's clean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As far as, in other words, I don't know, maybe they find dope on the driver. Or
let's just say they find dope in the car, right? But the car is registered in the driver's name or whatever. He's driving the car. I'm just a passenger, and I say I don't know anything about what's going on in this car. Am I free to go?
Yeah. Unless somebody claims it, yeah, everybody's subject to arrest.
Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
So when the police come and knock at your door, and they don't have a warrant, you don't have to open that door. You don't even have to answer that door, right?
You don't have to answer the door. You don't have to answer any questions. You don't have to identify yourself. You don't have to step out. If you really pay attention to the police, most of what they do is ask, hey, do you mind? Or would you please? Or it's not like, you have to.
Yeah.
They always ask in the form of a question, and we take it as, like we have to.
Yeah, because they're the authority. We're the citizen, and we believe that we can't say no to the police. So a lot of us get caught up when the police come to our door, and we open our door for them, and like, oh, can we come in to talk to you? Right. And they're like, yeah, sure. But once they come into the house, they're going to be walking around your house.
Right.
So
that's terrible. No, ever, unless they got a warrant, don't ever let them in your house.
Yeah.
Because one thing will lead to another, and it's no good. I've noticed on this TikTok, which has become a bad habit for me, man. I spend way too much time on that shit. They do these audits, they call them. And so they'll go into a public library and just video. They're not bothering anybody or like, but people get nervous. They're like, why is this dude filming?
Yeah.
And then pretty soon the police show up, and they do it to all kinds of places. They'll go outside of prisons. They'll go to, courthouses, wherever, police parking lots. They love those. And they challenge the police on the very thing that we're talking about, to educate not just the public, but the police, because the police, they don't train them in half of this stuff either. And so it's interesting to see, and they've won a lot of money in lawsuits doing that. So yeah, it's becoming a big thing to like educate the police because they don't even know.
So wait, what are they doing? They going into these places and recording them
It,
for what? Or recording?
it what it is as long as you're in a public place,
Yeah.
you're it's legal for you to you can video anything, you can see it, anything you can see. There's no expectation of privacy in public. That's the nature of being in public.
Okay.
So you can't say, hey, don't film me. If you're in public, they can do what they want to do. So he goes in, these people, there's several of them that do it. They go into, like I said, libraries, or they love to fuck with cop parking lots. And the first thing these police do is try to act like public buildings are somehow, not the public's.
Yeah,
Like they're
private building, and so they're
yeah,
trying to
like
tell these people they can't record them that when they're sitting in a public space, right? Okay.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. So they challenge that whole notion, and have been pretty successful. And it's entertaining to watch how it goes down.
Yeah.
Some cops sit there and you can just see the confusion on their face when this dude's, telling them how it really is. And unless you can, show us your ID. No, I'm not showing you my ID. What do you mean you're not showing me your ID? You got to show me your. No, I don't. Can you articulate some crime that you think I've committed? Well, you're obstructing my investigation right now. That's not a crime. Obstruction is a physical thing, not you know, I'm not giving you my ID thing.
Yeah.
So it's just fun to watch, and people really should educate themselves, because a lot of people have gotten a lot of time, because they don't know their basic rights, you know, and they just let the police, dictate.
Yeah, because we're conditioned that these are the authority figures, and that when they
Yeah,
come and they knock on your door or they pull you over or pull up on you while you're walking, that you're supposed to cooperate.
yeah,
Every time they don't understand that they can say no. You know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah.
And we can say no, right? I just want to be
Oh
clear
yeah,
because I'm not
yeah,
the
yeah.
expert. Yeah.
No, you can definitely say no if they can't articulate the suspicion that, number one, a crime has been committed, and number two, that you may have committed that crime. Then they have no basis to ask you for. You don't have to say shit to them. You're not required to aid them in their investigation in any form or fashion. Fifth Amendment says you can shut your mouth, and that's good enough.
So if I'm walking down the street because the color of my skin,
Right.
they might mistaken me that I'm one of these illegal dudes that crossed the border or something, right? So
Right.
so if they pull up on me and be like, "Hey, we need your ID and some type of identification. Who are you? This and that." Not
Yeah.
knowing my citizenship status or anything. At that time, in that moment in time, when I got two cops in front of me, and they're trying to question me about who I am, what am I doing in this neighborhood, and all that, I can refuse to speak to them.
Yes, sir. And
And
more importantly, you'd have a claim for racial profiling.
yeah,
Now, let me clarify one thing too. Each state is different, but almost all the states are don't. They're called stop and ID states. There's a few that is permissible, right? Um,
but why are they
but
permissible? Like, what's the
just
condition for them to
the
be?
way state law, because of the way the state law runs,
Yeah,
uh, they can stop and ask you for ID. But there is very few states that have that.
yeah.
So it's real easy to Google. Actually, anything about the law, or certain circumstances like we're talking about, you're walking down the street. Uh, it's real easy to just ask Siri, "Hey Siri, is this legal?" And it'll pop up. It'll give you case law. It'll give you whatever you want. So for those that aren't familiar with it, it's real easy to find out and educate yourself. It's
So
the
how
only
did
way.
how did they abolish that stop and frisk law up in New York when Giuliani was whatever the
I think
was he what was
their
he
I think their state legislature probably changed it.
yeah, but why? Because they were using it as racial profiling, stopping people, frisking them,
Exactly.
and arresting them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and I was going to finish up on what you said. Like, if you were walking down the street and you're a person of color, uh, not only are you not required to give ID just because of their general suspicion. Suspicion is not a crime. That's not a crime. It's just their suspicion.
Yeah.
So unless, yeah, anyway, so not only do you not have to ID or talk to these people, but you would also have a claim against them for racial profiling, just for stopping you, based on nothing more than what you look like.
I mean, you've been in the criminal justice system practically your whole life, right? So, like, you've been home how long now?
4.5 months. Breaking records, brother.
4.5 months or 4.5 years?
Oh, 4.5 years. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
I was gonna say, man, you just got out.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
No, 4.5
and
years. I've
and
never been out long.
yeah, and how old were you when you first started getting into the system?
I think I was like 11.
Yeah. So, how many years do you think that is of your life that you spent in the criminal justice system?
Oh, bro, I'm 61 now, so like shit. I don't even know, man. Probably like 40 something, 45 years, 45.
So, I mean, so I can say that you're very familiar with the criminal justice system. You've not only
Yeah,
lived it, not only been subject to it, but you've also fought it in cases that went all the way up to the level of the Supreme Court, and even
yeah,
won some cases. Like, when I talked to Deirdre, she's just like you're you're one of the most intelligent, smartest attorney she's ever met. You're not an attorney, but with the law, you know more about these freaking people that been studying law, been practicing law. And I think the difference between them and you is that you have something personal invested in it because you lived it. You know the you know the injustice that some of these laws are applied, as
yeah,
opposed to an attorney that's practicing law. He's doing it for a paycheck for whatever his client gets paid for him. He's willing and dealing clients and stuff, because you already know that, hey, I want Mesa, so you got 10 people on your indictment. We'll let these other 9 go if you can help me convict Mesa. Talking to my attorney, because you already know my attorney fucking skipped town after I got convicted, and
yeah.
all
Sure
the
did.
rest of that shit. You already know that my
Yeah,
investigator got. You were the one that sent me the newspaper clip that when you asked me, "Hey, who's your investigator?" and I was telling you it was Carrington, and you sent me the
yeah,
newspaper clip like, "Hey, read the obituary." My investigator was found dead at a hotel, right?
yeah,
Yeah, my whole
yeah.
case. Like when I share stories with people about how my case went down, they're just like, "Nah, it's not possible that all this shit happened in one case."
No, your case in particular is probably one of the biggest injustices all the way from the beginning to the end. Because yeah, your trial attorney was a truck. Your investigators were obviously, into dope and doing whatever they were doing. And but even like over the years, like you'd get favorable Supreme Court rulings that would bear right on your case, and Tina Campbell would be like, "Nope, not messing with you."
So that's why I was gonna ask you next. Like, why was it? Why was this like you said? We had cases since you helped me on my case throughout these years. We had cases that came down from Supreme Court year after year that support my claims and
Yeah,
stuff and support my argument. But yet, I was never, ever, ever able to get one day back from my
yeah,
sentencing. So,
yeah.
why do you think, in your opinion, the reason
The
was?
biggest impediment today, and for the last probably 20 years, whenever this law came out, I can't. I think it was '94, somewhere around there. It's called the Prisoner Litigation Reform Act. And what it was designed to do is keep these hobby crafters that sit in the law library and, write these lawsuits about there's not enough chocolate chips in the chocolate chips in the commissary, or just frivolous, stupid shit. And these judges are getting these big, long briefs over frivolous, nonsense. And the courts were overwhelmed with it. So they came up with this act, the Prisoner Litigation Reform Act, and what it implemented was a bunch of roadblocks. They give you like a year from when your conviction becomes final to get all your appeals in, get all your stuff done, all your claims raised, and then they shut the door on you pretty much. there's a few exceptions, but like I said, in the federal system, like 90 something percent, 95, 98% of the people plead guilty. They take a plea bargain. And that comes back to bite us, because anything we raise after that, they go back and say, hey, you pled guilty, man.
Yeah.
So like, or time barred guys will get to the pen, they'll go out and play basketball with the homies for 3 or 4 years, and we'll get a lockdown. That's the most famous time for them to come to me, is after lockdown. People been under their bed, get their files out, dust the dust off of them, start reading shit. Oh, I got this issue, I got that issue. Well, homie, when you were out there playing basketball for them 4 or 5 years, you should have been in your case, because it's old, and it's over.
But me, like, as soon as we got to Lompoc, we started freaking fighting my case, right?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So, what was my issue? What was my problem? That why couldn't I had gotten back into court when all these case laws that came down said that I had every right to have my issue heard?
No, we followed all the timelines, and we did everything we were supposed to do in your case. And I specifically remember, because you were new to Deirdre, I told Deirdre, I said, this one's like family, man. We're you know what I mean? Because I was having it out with Sue at the time about her writing and misspellings and just basic shit. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. It's right, And so, yeah, I wanted it written right. I wanted it filed on time. I wanted everything right in your case. Not that I don't other cases, but I just wanted special, consideration for you.
Yeah.
And so we did everything right. It's just that, number one, Tina Campbell wasn't trying to hear it. They blew over the ineffective assistance of counsel. And I mean, if there wasn't an IAC claim on that dude, what was his name? Jordan?
Yeah, Ron Jorgensen. Yeah.
Jordan.
Yeah, he packed up his family and moved out to Virginia after he freaking set me up.
And you're reading the transcript, and all of a sudden, Tina Campbell, he's talking, and all of a sudden he stops talking, and she's like, "Are you all right, Mr. Jorgensen? Is everything okay in your family?" or whatever she said. Dude broke down crying because he didn't do his job. He wasn't ready.
Yeah, he didn't have a defense. He didn't have my witnesses. He didn't even know where my investigator was until we found out that he was dead a couple months later in the newspaper.
Yeah. So, I mean, if that's not ineffective assistance of counsel, then there is no such thing, because that dude was a straight truck.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we raised the claim. They denied it. There's not much you can do beyond that. I think we appealed it, and whatever the 10th Circuit said, they said. They just run over that shit.
Yeah. So, in your opinion, like fighting out, go ahead.
No, they tricked you on the escape thing and tried to combine everything, saying you were going to get pretty much a decent deal out of the deal.
Yeah, they promised me 14 months and that they were just going to add it to the 18 years that they were already giving me. But then when I went and got sentenced, they were like, "Oh, no, we're going to give you 18 years now and come back next week and we'll sentence you on the assault."
Yeah.
And then I've always heard people that were able to take their plea back, withdraw their guilty plea within 30 days or whatever of signing the plea agreement. But you were there. They wouldn't allow me to withdraw my plea. Like, how were they able to force that agreement on me when after I pled guilty, I found out that they weren't sentencing me to the 14 months. They were sentencing me to 96 months, which I would not have ever signed anything for 96 months.
Sure.
You know that.
No, they reneged on your deal.
Yeah.
And could have been, that's a legitimate ground for withdrawal. But again, Tina Campbell had it out for you.
Yeah.
And she just ran over all that shit. And she's a federal judge, so they give her that, I guess.
So
it's a crooked system, man. I told Deirdre when I got the real favorable sentence, I should have gotten 181 months, and I got 57 from Judge Green, because he liked me, he liked Deirdre, whatever. And they eventually got their 181. He died. I had to go back. The government appealed. They gave me the career offender thing that I probably should have gotten in the first place. But it proved to me that the court system, and it's all court system, doesn't matter if it's state or federal or what it is, they're casinos, man. They're casinos of luck. Um, and that's it, man. It's what judge you pull, it's what attorney you have, who knows who likes who, how you present yourself. And that's a message I would give to people that think they might come in contact with the system is, you know, public defenders, first of all, we don't pay them. They get paid by whatever organization they work for or the courts directly, like in Deirdre's case. But they get assigned cases, man. There's attorneys right there in Salt Lake that Defender Project that have like 200 cases. And you can't expect a human being to be able to focus on that heavy of a caseload. It would be hard just to read the police reports in all them cases, much less do your own investigation and so on and so forth. So they're overwhelmed with work. They don't go in there to lose. They don't. A lot of people have misconceptions about how defense attorneys operate. They do the best they can, I think, for the most part. There are exceptions, like in your case with this Jorgensen. But on the whole, they don't go in there to lose, you know. And again, everybody, majority of people end up pleading guilty. It's just a matter of reaching the right number and negotiating a deal that the client will accept, and so on and so forth. But my point of all that is this: if you treat your attorney fucked up, like he's just hired help, and treat them like they're a piece of shit or a public pretender, which is a common term we like to assign to them, switch roles. How would you feel if some schmuck come in handcuffs and just started like treating you like a piece of shit? You're not going to really be all that enthused about helping them too much.
Well, I mean, yeah. No, I understand that, but I think they get to that point after, like, because I don't think people at the end in the beginning, like, you're young. Like, speaking for me personally, I'm really thinking this dude is coming in to help me. You know what I mean? So I'm trusting him. I'm going by whatever advice that he's giving me. Okay, we'll file this motion. Okay, we'll raise this issue, and we'll plead guilty to this. So I'm thinking he's working in my behalf, but they come to find out that he wasn't. You know what I mean? So for me, it's like, yeah, you just really, I felt like you just sold me out. And he knew that because he had a guilty conscience. At the end of the day, after I got sentenced, we were trying to locate him to sign an affidavit that he promised me that he was going to sign. He said, hey, man, when you get to where you're going, I'm going to sign an affidavit giving you detailed conversations of what I had with the prosecutor, what I did in your case, this and that. Then he disappeared and never signed the affidavit.
Yeah. No, I recall that. He ended up back east somewhere or something.
Yeah, he went to Virginia somewhere. It took us like 6 months to locate him. So when shit like that happens, I mean, I understand that they're people too at the same time, and that they got like you said, a heavy caseload and all the rest of it. But when you have an experience like that, how can you have a different perception than, like the term?
Well, it's like any group, whether it's a racial group or an occupation, like attorneys. Can't just throw them all into one bucket. Yeah, there's going to be bad apples in every bucket. And I guess that's my point, is not all defense attorneys are dump trucks like Jorgensen.
Yeah.
And so give them a chance, don't treat them like the hired help, because first of all, you're not paying for them. You're lucky to be in a country that they provide that to you.
Yeah.
And try to work with them. Try to, make their life easier. And you might come up on an attorney like Deirdre that you become friends with, and she'll fucking bend over backwards and try to help you.
Yeah.
And a very important part of all this, Mason, is 9 times out of 10, we did what the fuck we're there for.
Like me, I've never had any issue about my guilt or my participation in the crime that they accused me of. It was just how they went about convicting me and how they tricked me into pleading I pled guilty to 14 months
Yeah.
and it was supposed to have been for simple assault, but they
Yeah.
gave me a time for aggravated assault and use a prior shotgun case that the Supreme Court deemed that it was nonviolent to
Legal.
enhance me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just the railroad, just because they felt like I was whatever, a danger to the community and all the rest, gang leader and all that bullshit.
Right.
How am I a fucking gang leader? I'm 20 years old. You know,
Well,
there's other members of in my gang that's older than me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but they slapped me with that label and all the rest, and they just fucking send me up the
And
river.
really, as far as Judge Campbell goes, I've told you since I've known you and your case that she's silent beefing you behind that. You
Yeah.
know. But yeah, no, you every time you would come through that door in B unit or wherever the hell we were from court, you just have your head down, just like shaking your head like I can't believe it. I feel so fucking bad, man. But yeah, sometimes it's a stacked deck.
So, well, I want to ask you, like I said, you've been around the criminal justice system, you know how it works, or whatever. Like, is it constitutional to have a sealed indictment where you don't even know that you're being indicted? There's nobody that's standing in your behalf to defend your side of the story, and the juror that's presented at the these grand juries, they're only getting one side. That's from the prosecutor, and you know we have a saying in the federal system that they can indict a ham sandwich, which
Right.
the government is proud of saying. Like, yeah, we can
Yeah.
indict anybody. We can just put everything on you, make up shit because you're not there to defend yourself. And in the federal system, once you have that indictment, you're arrested, you're in jail, and
Yeah.
the federal and in the federal system, you don't have to get they don't have to grant you bail. They can
No.
hold you without bail until your case is resolved. So, what do you feel about that grand jury indictment, and is it constitutional?
Yeah, it's part of the court rules that, and yeah, they do only let the prosecutor present their side. All a grand jury is there to do is determine whether the government has probable cause to actually charge you in an indictment for the crimes that the government says you committed. That's all it is, probable cause. Doesn't say you did it, didn't do it, just that there's a probability that that crime has been committed and that you committed it and that the government can charge you with it.
Okay, once you're indicted and they arrest you, how can they hold you without giving you an opportunity to have bail?
That's a whole separate deal, and each state is different, each county is different. Federal detention rules, you go usually before a magistrate, and it goes to whether you pose a threat to the community, a danger to the community, whether you have community ties to where you're going to be
Absconding, leaving, running, all this stuff.
whether you have the ability to abscond, whether you've done it in the past.
Yeah.
That's a big strike. If you're out on bail or pretrial release and you run off, you'll probably never get pretrial release again.
Yeah, but on my first case, it was a sawed-off shotgun case, and I didn't get no bail for that. You know, I couldn't even get out on bail. I had no co-defendants. It was just me. The gun wasn't used in a crime. You know, I got caught. You know, they came look at my house looking for a murder suspect, and ended up finding a shotgun in my house because I wouldn't cooperate. They ended up arresting me in the state. I bailed out. Now they arrested me in the state, and I already bailed out in the state. And then 2 months later, in February, this was in November. So in February, about 3 months later, the feds indicted me and then held me without bail. So like I just wasted bail money bailing out of the state on the same case, and I didn't go nowhere. I stayed in the state, still stayed at my parents' house, so I could prove that I wasn't leaving, that I was trying to resolve my case through the system, let it take its course, but it's still I was refused bail.
Yeah. Pretrial detentions. Actually, in the feds, the judges don't even determine that. Actually they do, but it's pretrial services, right?
No, you go back to the magistrate. I mean, the pretrial services, they write the report,
right,
and all that stuff, and then they present. Then you go through the magistrate, and then he makes his decision. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah,
Pretrial services just pretty much verifies whatever your story is. Hey, I'm going to be staying with my wife, working at this job, and blah blah blah.
yeah,
Um, and then they send their recommendation to the judge or magistrate to determine whether you're going to get out or not. And yeah, if you got any kind of history or gang affiliations or any of that, chances are they're not going to let you out.
yeah.
They're getting away from that on the state level. A lot of states are getting away from cash bail and all that stuff. But again, if you present, if the government can show anything that poses any kind of threat to the community, they're going to shut you down.
I mean, think about it. They have a. If you've been following the news and stuff, they had about 7 migrants, illegal migrants, that stomped out the police. They got
Yeah.
arrested and got released without bail, and like,
Yeah,
so
New
you
York.
know,
I
yeah,
imagine right there in New York, they're gonna change their bail laws because of that.
yeah. But you know, like they treat. I get frustrated. I don't have anything against immigrants. I'm a refugee. You know,
Sure.
that came here to this country. My family came here looking for a better opportunity and all that stuff. But it's but I'm a citizen now. But there's citizens here that live in this country that are not that are being treated worse than the people that's crossing the border. They're taking all these resources and stuff from the population that's here so they can house these migrants and all the rest of it. Like it's been
Yeah.
crazy on the news. You know, I don't want to really get into the politics of it or whatever,
Well,
but it's just like you can't really ignore it, you know.
that's what I was gonna say, bro. I mean, the immigration laws in this country do need to be reformed, and that's what they're trying to do now. But the politics of it, you got a bunch of racist fucking pieces of shit that are using that as what they call a wedge issue. It's to get you and I where you have one position on it and I got another. I'm pretty. It's like the warden loves to see gang members in prison fighting each other. Because why?
Yeah.
We're not fighting them.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, these fucking piece of shit politicians are basically doing the same thing. Immigration. This is a country of immigrants.
Yeah.
This is what our country is. It's we're the great melting pot of the world, and it's proven to be a pretty good way to do it. You know, that next motherfucker that's sneaking under the fence coming over here might be the next person that discovers, the end of pollution or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
So, yeah, Paul, you can't leave politics out of it because that's exactly what the problem is. The politicians have taken that issue and turned it into something that gets us fighting each other, and it's fucked up, man. I don't like it at all.
Well, speaking to the warden, I mean, about the warden, you had mentioned about, all the times you've done time that, back in the days, you used to have what they term convict COs that knew how to conduct themselves, COs
Yeah.
that realized the environment they're working in, as opposed to this new generation, the new breed, before we left. Like, what is the difference and what do you think the change is? Like,
Wow. Um, yeah, there's been a huge change. Well, when I went into the federal system in the 80s, I first went in there in 83 from San Quentin. I went into the feds, and there was only like 31,000 people in the whole system. And now there's like 200 and whatever thousand people. The people talk about penitentiaries I've never even heard of. I didn't even know they existed.
yeah, when you went in
So,
there was 5. Now there's over 20 of them.
yeah.
They
So
built them when we were all in Lompoc.
there was a huge building spree going on during the 90s when they got on the big anti-drug crusade.
Yeah, that was
Lock,
during the Clinton years with Joe
uh,
Biden and their
Clinton, Bush,
1994 crime
Reagan,
bill. Yeah.
uh, yeah. So yeah, all those things played into it. Yeah, again, they're pimping an issue. Drugs or crack back then was the big thing, and they admit that now. At least Clinton says, "Hey, all that shit was a huge mistake. We didn't know what the fuck this stuff was. We didn't know it was the same basically as powder, but we see these people doing crack. And pretty soon they're jacking people out of their cars and blowing people's heads off, and it's bad publicity. So they came up with this draconian set of laws. That's
Yeah.
the one that fucked the whole federal system up, where they took, premium channel TVs. They took all the good shit out of the commissaries. They took the weights out. They took X-rated magazines. Everything, all that shit that's going on now. It turned the whole system upside down. And pretty much gave the prisons back to the police. Because before them, we ran all that shit.
Yeah.
They sit in their fucking offices. We ran all that shit. And now, and back then, in the 80s and early 90s, cops were actually fairly professional. You know what I mean? They had a job to do. But they would call you Mr. So-and-so, Mr. So, respect, just respect. They were professional. Nowadays, they're like a straight up gang, man. You already know. And if you get too crossway with them, they'll take you off some fucking cell somewhere and kill you. It's been done.
Yeah, they had that one incident that I read when we was in Lompoc where the police said that they found this dude that he hung himself, but when they went to go did the forensic, they found blood splatter in the ceiling. And if you ever been in Oklahoma in the shoe or in the cell in the shoe there, you can get on the top bunk, jump up and down, and still not touch the ceiling. Still be 10 feet from
ceiling.
touching the ceiling. So
that's where the incident took place, was Oklahoma.
Yeah.
His brother, the victim's brother's a lawyer there in Utah.
Really?
Yeah. I've communicated with him. I told him, man, because he hired an attorney and an investigator on that case. And I read Rolling Stone's got a big, long 2-part article on that case. Anyway, so I tracked him down, and through Deirdre, I was able to shoot him a letter and told him, hey, man, I've been in the system a long time. If there's anything you want to know about the real workings of it, please reach out, man. I'll tell you whatever I can, tell you. But yeah, that was a fucked up case. And he's not the only one, bro. I've seen probably 2 or 3 cases that I've known where the police killed dudes. So they will do it.
Yeah. Yeah, they had that big incident in Florence with the Cowboys where they were taking people down, into the basement, 4-pointing them and beating them half to death.
I was not only in Florence when that was going on, but I was in the hole when that was going on and didn't even realize it was going on, bro.
Yeah.
That's how slick they were with it. And they were doing some dirty, dirty shit. So, yeah, they in my eye, those cops, even those, again, you can't throw everyone in the same bucket. But that's one bucket. You can throw a fucking 9 out of 10 of them in that bucket. Pieces of shit.
Yeah, because if they weren't a part of it, they knew about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
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 They're just like anybody else. They gossip and talk. And if you don't see, and if you're there on the compound, you're a CO, and you don't see anything wrong with that, then you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
in that cowboy case, I read part of the transcripts where cops that did witness them doing dirt that were kind of on the square, they would go threaten them, and tell them, look, next time you need deuces or any, we might not run to you. We might not come help you, or pretty much just threaten them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're a gang. They are a gang. And now this new director's talking about transparency, and it's a whole new, bullshit. Because you go to the regional director level on up, and the higher you go up, the dirtier those people are, man. The more blood they got on their hands.
Yeah. One of the most piece of shit ward I ever ran to was a dude named Matavosin. And now he's in Washington, D.C.
Yep.
Like he was an AW in Victorville. He tried to fuck Victorville up by he wrote a memorandum or a memo, I don't know what you call it, how to bring the prison population to their knees, right?
Really?
Like, yeah, he talk about, okay, you can't shock the system because if they come in and take everything from us at one time, then our system's going to get shocked and we're going to buck, right? So what he does is he comes in, he takes a little bit, see how we react. Oh, okay, they're crying about it, whatever. They're not doing nothing. Let it simmer for a little bit. Then he come in, take something else. Before these motherfuckers wake up and try to, organize themselves to fucking buck, everything's gone already. There's no more microwaves in the federal in the USP, and because of an incident that happened Pollock or an incident that happened over there or somewhere because somebody boiled some. You know, when I went to Beaumont, somebody had boiled some oil or some water or something in the microwave. You were there in Beaumont with me, and
Yeah,
and threw it on the freaking police, and they came in and took all of our shit. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But
yeah.
you know, they took the dryers out. Like in Florence, you got to put your shit on a fucking on a belt and send it to laundry. Your white tee comes back all gray and brown. You know, because it's
Yeah,
just washed in with
yeah.
everything else.
With the shitty towels out of the hole that they mop the crap up with.
Yeah,
Yeah, the overflowing toilets. They wash all your shit with that. Yeah, they're just a nasty. Hey, I'll tell you what, bro. That's probably what's kept me out of the system for the last 4 years. Is I am so sick and tired of that system. The police, the young convicts that can't think straight. Uh, it's just a terrible waste of time, man.
yeah,
It's a dirty system. That's all I can say about it. And out here, I can get up at 2 in the morning and fucking go fry an egg and eat it if I want, or pet my dog or whatever.
yeah. The other night, I think it was like a couple of weeks ago. You know, we were just laying around and we were just like, "You want to go get an ice cream?" So
Yeah,
we got in the car, went down to the gas station, and it's like 11 o'clock at night,
yeah.
and you know, I'm standing in front of the fridge. I mean, in the freezer where the ice cream's at, because it's a Maverick right here around the corner from our house. And my wife's like, "Hey, what do you want? What do you want?" And she's looking at me, and I'm just like, you know, I'm getting emotional on the verge of tears just because, like, you know, it's fucking 11 o'clock at night. I'm outside. I'm at a gas station, and I'm about to eat some fucking ice cream.
Ain't that nice?
You know what I
And you
mean?
got a million different choices to choose from.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
No, hey, bro. There's no comparison, man. I could get in my car right now and go anywhere I want. I can go to the river. I got 9 pigs out here. I got 5 baby pigs. I go play with them. There's a lot to be said about being out here, bro, versus that piece of shit system, man. That they've created, and I feel kind of bad that I don't dedicate more of my time to, because since I'm out here, there's a lot more I could do to change the system than say writing a fucking grievance or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, the shit that they always deny when you're inside.
Yeah.
Like, here's a good example of an issue that I would like to pursue. I've been thinking about it lately, so I'll probably do it, but it's been on my mind for a long time. Is the commissary fund and the way they run commissaries. Um, I don't know if I ever showed you the paperwork or not, but inmates in the federal system spend 1 point something $billion every year on commissary.
Yeah.
That phone, that's the credits for the music and the commissary, special purchase, whatever. But that's a lot of fucking money.
Yeah.
And for as long as I've been in that system, 40 something years, it's been the same 3 or 4 vendors that supply the commissaries. So, and they're no contract. They don't have to bid. They don't have to do nothing except Joe Blow in Victorville running that commissary calls and says, "Hey, we need 3 cases of medium men's gray sweatshirts."
Yeah.
They don't ask them the price. They don't give a fuck because we're buying it.
Yeah.
They don't shop around. They don't call other vendors. They don't, they just call the same regular motherfuckers. And so I did some research when I was in the joint. There's a thing called a fiduciary duty, and that's when somebody somebody else controls or is holding your money or your financial interest. That's you've entrusted them somehow, and that's what the inmate trust fund is about. Is we can't have money in our pockets, so it's on the books, which is controlled by the inmate trust fund. Um, so there's a duty normally on the streets. Say your grandma goes into a rest home and she's got dementia and she can't really deal with her finances. Somebody will deal with that. Hey, shut up. Sorry about that, my dog. Um, and they have a fiduciary duty to look out for your best interest or your grandma's best interest on how they deal with your money. They don't just go get all the most expensive shit or the most, they don't waste people's money. They have a duty by law to do the best they can with your money.
Yeah.
So when I looked that up to try to apply that fiduciary duty to the inmate trust fund, I found, I think, 2 cases out of DC where somebody had brought that issue up. And they ruled that prison officials do not have a fiduciary duty to inmates. I'm like, well, why not? Especially when you're talking about $1 billion plus a year in money. Why wouldn't they? So that's a bad ruling. I think can be challenged, but more importantly, since we have a so-called progressive administration in power right now, at least change the policy. Fuck the law. Change the policy to where commissaries have centralized purchasing, first of all, because instead of each commissary doing their individual purchasing, you get a way better deal if, say, even if it was broke up into regions, the Western region, right? Instead of just Lompoc commissary calling them up and saying, hey, we need sweatshirts, the region calls and says, hey, we've got 30 prisons in California that we need sweatshirts for. What's the price? And change the policy where they have to get bids and do competitive bidding and get the best price for inmates and do their purchasing like that. It wouldn't take a whole hell of a lot to get that done.
Yeah. And also, in their policy, as far as like the markup price, they say they're only supposed to mark it up 30%. But as you know, there's items in there that are 200-300% marked up.
Well, and we're thinking that because of the price. But again, when they purchase it, they're not saying anything about, can we get a group discount? Can we get, a better price? They don't care. It's whatever the price is. They're going to pay it. They're going to put their...
because we don't have no access to it outside of what they present to us and allow us to buy. Okay, like the MP3 players, when it first came out, I'm calling my wife, she's telling me the MP3 players were $25 to $30 a fucking pop at Walmart. Exactly. But they're selling it to us over there for $88.
Yeah.
$90. Like, how do you justify that type of shit? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that part of that system, and that may be just a matter of doing some emails to the right department head, the director of programs or whoever's in charge of the inmate trust fund, just to ask, why are you not changing your policies on this shit?
Yeah, they act like the penitentiary is like fucking Disneyland where you go and pay, fucking $10 for a fucking hot dog or something, for a $2 hot dog.
Yeah.
But, okay, I know you're a little bit, could I say you're a little bit progressive, liberal leaning as far as, okay, so, considering that, what do you, I was watching this hearing where they had the director of the Bureau of Prison, this lady, come up there and testify in front of Congress, and they were asking her about...
Let me interrupt. Where'd you see that?
It's on the Forbes News.
Okay.
Yeah, Forbes News. What was her name?
I forgot. It starts with a C.
Yeah, Cotton or something. Anyway, but so they were questioning her about these people that are transitioning, these male inmates that are claiming to be transgender and that they're a man stuck, or that they're a woman stuck in a man's body, and then now the federal government is paying for them to not even necessarily have like bottom surgery or whatever, but just because they claim that they are a transgender, they're relocating them to women's prison. Like, how do you feel about a man? Because, at the end of the day, you can say you're a girl, but you still have the testosterone as the man. You still have the muscle mass as a man. You still have the strength of a man. And compare me to a professional wrestler, I'm pretty sure that professional wrestler can beat me up. But comparing me to another average woman that, in the same category, I'm going to be a lot stronger than her. I want to be a lot more dominant than her, and so on and so forth. So, and they've had cases where these ladies that are in these penitentiaries with these.
Knock it off. I'm sorry, Mason.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right.
So
All
they
right.
have cases in these penitentiaries, these women penitentiaries, where they've been sexually assaulted by these transgender that never had the operation, that still got their dingling, on them and the rest. Like, how do you feel about these guys? Because to get evac. Because when I was in Florence, my neighbor, he wanted to get out of Florence because Florence sucked, and he knew that there was these, like Tucson FCIs for a lot of sex offenders, right? So
Yeah.
he was like, "Hey, man, I'm a transgender," and all they
Right.
did was send him to, they sent some counselor, some whatever psychologist or whatever to come talk to him through the door,
Yeah.
and he told him all the right fucking checks, that he's a fucking girl trapped in a man's body, this and that, and they approved him for a transfer to go to the sex offender yard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's all it takes is just for somebody claiming that there's something, and then they're able to go to a woman's prison. How do you feel about that?
Well, a special needs yard or a women's?
No, they're now, according to the testimony of this lady that is I forget her name, that's the director of the Bureau of Prison. There are men in women's prison. These men, because they claim to be transgender. Like, that's not me, making shit up. I watched the 2-hour freaking hearing, and it's on record that there are men that are whatever transgender.
Brothers, if we ever, God forbid, find ourselves going back into the system, you know what to claim.
Right? But you already know how dangerous is the environment that we lived in already. And the women's prison is not any less dangerous.
Nah.
You know what I mean? They got some wild shit that goes into the women's prison. I just don't know about it because I've never been in a women's prison. But I've met, people that have families in there that shared stories, and I've seen some of these freaking stuff on YouTube about the shit that goes on over there. So, like, now you put in a dude that is like physically dominant than the rest of them, and I mean, how do
prison? Well, they used to, back in the day, like Pleasanton, Fort Worth. There were like, I don't know, 3 or 4 of them, I think, had co-ed prisons. And because of the obvious, over time, they got rid of that shit. But it's not my field of specialty. I do know this, just observing what was going on around me in the pens. Them dudes do abuse that shit. They claim people, raped them when it didn't happen, and just all kinds of shit. Stories to manipulate the system so they can get to where they want to go, or they want to hook back up with their husbands, or whatever the situation is. They abuse the system, and the system is scared.
Are they abusing the system, or the system is just like trying to really cater to them for political reasons? Because I mean, if you're a psychologist worth your weight, like you'd be able to see through some of these things. Aren't you trained to see through some of these things?
Well, it goes to civil rights law, bro. They can't discriminate based on gender, race.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, I understand like that, but I'm saying as far as taking a man and placing him into a woman's facility.
And that's what I'm getting at is putting them in men's prisons has led to abuses to where these whatever you want to call them, are manipulating the system. And I think to get away from that, they're saying, okay, you're a woman, you're taking estrogen, you're doing this, you're doing that, you go to women's prison. And maybe that's their way of avoiding a bunch of lawsuits and bullshit. I don't know why they're doing it or how it came about, but whether it's fair or not, or I don't know, bro. It ain't my thing, I would imagine women don't probably care for it too much.
No, they have cases, according to the testimony that was at the Senate, that there's women that has been sexually assaulted by these dudes that claim to be transgender, because they still got they ain't got their bottom surgery. They still got their weenie hanging around, and they're using it.
I'm surprised they ain't the ones getting abused. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's news to me that they're even doing that. I didn't know that they're sending real dudes to women's prisons.
Yeah. Oh, it was news to me too until I freaking saw it on the Forbes News.
Yeah. And the only thing I can imagine is that it's some way of getting out of a lot of lawsuits and a lot of bullshit in the men's pens is why they probably did it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know enough about it.
Well, I mean, what advice would you have? Like, okay, as far as your life is concerned, like all the stuff that you've done to find yourself in a penitentiary, like was
Yeah.
anything that you've done, do you feel like it was worth the time that you've lost out here?
No, not at all. I look back on that, and every day I wake up out here, I'm thinking, man, why did I waste 40 something fucking years? For what? For the money I got out of all that shit, bro. For the time I did, I'd have been I would have made more money on welfare than being a bank robber. Serious.
Oh no, I believe it. I like shit. I mean, I didn't. I spent maybe about 27 years of my life in prison, counting
Bro,
from.
spent all your youth in there.
Yeah, so.
All your youth in there. So yeah, it's an expensive endeavor. My recommendation is fuck bank robbery. Maybe in the 30s or the 1800s, it might have been a thing. But in this day and age, you're going to get peeled off, 10, 15 grand. You're going to get 20 years for it, and you're going to hate life.
Yeah.
That's my recommendation. Don't waste your life. So,
yeah, man.
What I hear, but that's the truth.
Yeah, no, it's like and that's really part of my goal of being out here is just giving people the real perspective of what's really going on and stuff. Instead of you got a lot of these goofy ass dudes, and I'm gonna say they're goofy. They come home from prison and think that shit's a badge of honor and trying to preach that shit to these kids like it's cool and shit.
It ain't cool, man.
But if you ask them if you want their kid to be in prison for to go to prison for 10, 20 years, they're gonna say no. But they don't have no problem sending somebody else's kids to go put them in a situation where they might end up in prison. And I really don't think that's cool because just like you, we've been there. We've been there in the cold cells. We've been there when our stomach is grumbling. I remember when you were able to fucking bring some vegetables back when we were cellies and able to just to fucking cook a fucking plain soup. That was like, gourmet, dining, know. Yeah,
I remember at Beaumont, you were talking about Beaumont, where we go to the yard. You guys make them egg roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, some good food out of basically out of nothing. You guys make something good food.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, come on, man. Prison, you got knuckleheads telling you what to do, getting you in trouble. You ain't got nothing to do with it. They call it putting in work, some bullshit, something they won't go do. And then you got cops that, that whole other side of another gang trying to tell you what to do. I was fortunate being a Jew. You might think being a Jew in the system, like I'm a target or something, but it was actually very convenient because the old timers, the ones that, AB dudes and all, they already knew me. And we're friends. We're on the same unit, all that shit. So the youngsters coming in with all that racial ideology and hatred and all that shit never got directed towards me.
Yeah.
And I had the freedom of not being identified as one of them, really, like just a run-of-the-mill white boy with maybe a swastika on my neck or whatever the fuck. So I was in a good place. My cars were always small. Hey, you already know how I ran and who I ran with. I run with you guys. I run with, whatever. Whoever the fuck I want to.
Now, like, in some of my stories, when I relate some of these stories, I I refer to the whites like, yeah, the white boys over here, the white boys over there. I got some people that are like, oh, why are you using that as in a derogatory term? Like they're saying that I'm using that as in a racial term. Now, I just want to clarify, like you run right there with the whites and stuff. Yeah. Do they not use that terminology to identify themselves?
Yeah. Even been asked well, what kind of white boy are you? And I'm like, fuck you mean what kind of white boy? I'm just a white boy,
Just a white
just
boy, right? But they're
talking about
trying to equate that term as to a term where you would call black the N word or something. You know what I mean? I'm
yeah.
like, nah, it's not a racial slur. The
I
whites
mean,
in there identify themselves. Yeah, I'm a white boy. Those are white boys. You know what I mean?
I'm not. I would never be offended by that, and most people I know wouldn't be. But maybe it's a new thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Maybe maybe the new young white dudes to create an issue. You know what I mean? Don't
yeah.
call us white. What do they want to be called? Caucasian?
But I didn't know. I never used that term until I went to prison because that's how they identified themselves, and that was the
Yeah.
language that we use. Even when
Yeah.
I'm speaking to them, the whites or whatever, he goes, you know what I mean? That's how they identify themselves, and
Huh.
and then to
That, as
the yeah,
far as I know, that's the right thing to do. You
yeah.
know, I don't know who would be offended by it, but
No, I just get some comments that they're like, "Oh, you're racist, and this and that." And I'm like, "How am I
I'm.
racist? I got stabbed up over some white boys, right?"
Yeah, it's silly. And that's
Yeah,
what
I put my
I'm.
life on the line over some of these motherfuckers, and
Yeah.
and I'm racist, right? Yeah, okay, yeah,
No, it's like I said, man. They got these young kids, and they put them in positions of where they can make up rules for all the other guys, and they don't know the first fucking thing about doing anything, man. They've been watching too many prison movies, and they think that's how it's supposed to roll.
yeah. But I
Yeah,
always tell them, man, any story I share or whatever, tell like if I'm fabricating that, if I'm exaggerating that, man, call me on it. But you seen some
yeah,
of my episode. I don't need to. The penitentiary is what it is, man. You know,
yeah.
outside of
It's
what Hollywood can make up with the special effects, you can't even really phantom that type of shit really happens.
yeah,
Motherfuckers are
yeah,
getting slaughtered. Motherfuckers are getting their eyes poked out, getting their tongue cut out. You
yep.
know, dudes
It's
are
a measure
getting,
of
yeah,
human beings, man,
you know,
and it's too bad. Um, look up some of the European prison systems, man, and they strive to like treat their prisoners as human beings, or at
yeah,
least give opportunity. They do have places for the assholes,
yeah. Now, I
but
get a lot of comments in the people that's done time in the UK and stuff. And they're like, "Wow, man, I was in prison over there, and your guys' prison system is fucked up."
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like your prison system is fucked up. Like over here, we're locked up too, but they still treat us like human beings. Like
yeah,
we're just a bunch of freaking animals thrown in cages, especially in the USP level. They're just waiting
yeah.
for us to kill each other.
That's
That's
it.
it. And
They're
then
happy to do. Then
yeah,
they can go to their offices and kick back.
yeah,
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah, man.
um, huh?
I really appreciate you getting on here with me. This is Charles Freeman, my longtime friend. We've been knowing each other for shit
Ever?
a quarter century now since I've been in the
Yep.
system. Yeah,
Yep.
since I first caught my case, and and he's white.
That's right. Reflect, huh? Yeah,
Yeah.
you weren't out of line. White boy. That's
Yeah.
all right.
All right,
All
brother.
right, bro.
Man, appreciate you, man.
I hope you will be editing this. Yeah.
I
All
don't know
right.
what part to take out. All of it was pretty interesting.
I had fun. We'll
Yeah.
do it again.
Yeah, man. Like I would like to get you on here to like kind of just like kind of hip the public to the law because I really feel that being in the system and fighting the cases that you fought, helping Deirdre with her cases and stuff, that you're an expert, like just as good as any other attorney that can get on here. But
Well,
you can
thank
give,
you. I appreciate the compliment. If I
yeah,
don't know something, I'll be sure to say I don't. But yeah, yeah, we can kick it on some different stuff.
yeah, man. I appreciate you, brother.
All right.
All right,
You
you
be
have a
good.
good day. Yeah, you too.
Yeah.
Okay,
Bye.
bye. Yeah, that's my longtime friend Charles Freeman. He helped me fight my case. We didn't win anything, but that wasn't from the lack of his effort or his knowledge of the law. Like he was telling you in a little bit, like the system is stacked up against us, and the judge that oversee these cases, they have a lot of discretion. You know, depending on your relationship, depending on your level of cooperations with the system. Sometimes a lot of it determines if they're going to catch you a break or give you, or not in my case, I'm not even trying to catch a break. I'm just trying to get a fair sentence. And I never got a fair sentence. They had cases that came down throughout the years that supported my arguments on some of the issues that I rose, but because my judge again had a lot of discretion, she decided not to hear them, and I ended up doing almost every day with my bid. You know, so hey, if you guys like this episode, if you guys want to know more about the law, this is the man to do it. My friend Charles Freeman, like he's well versed with the criminal system. He's taken cases to the Supreme Court. So in your comments, if you got any questions on certain things that you are considering or concerned about or whatever, you may hit me up. And again, my the reason I'm doing this stuff, this YouTube stuff, is really just trying to bring light to the criminal system, but not from something that I read from a book, but from my life experience, from being inside the system, from living it, from fighting the cases, from going to court, from seeing how the system works. And part of my movement is to help find a way to give me a platform where I can be a voice to help change some of the things that are going on, some of the things that I feel is unjust and outright atrocity that's happening in our system. And I can only do that with the help of you. I don't come on here and ask for anything like that because I really don't know how to ask people for things, but I can't get to where I want to go without your love and without your support. And I really appreciate everything that you guys been doing as far as supporting my channel and stuff. But again, you see me behind here, gear. I got some good stuff, man. And this stuff that you wear, this BMA stuff, it's not just a t-shirt, it's not just a hoodie. It's a mentality that I'm trying to push out here. It's a mentality about conducting yourself with integrity. It's a mindset that no matter where you are in your life, no matter what's going on, you can make the conscious decision to better yourself and change your environment. And, I just ask for your support. Share this video. Go to my website, baddestmanalive77.com. Cop a hoodie, cop a jacket, a hoodie, something. But until next time, I really appreciate you guys, man. One love.